So small planes are leading to large gains. So we've always often here talked about the big Gulfstreams, the Global Expresses, the Falcon 7Xs, and how those jets are used as business tools. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the smaller aeroplanes. I've just got back from the United States, where I was at Sun and Fun in Lakeland, Florida, and there was a lot of sun, as you can see, and there was also a lot of fun talking to people, looking at new aeroplanes. And in particular, it's very interesting to see how the small airplane market is growing rapidly, and a lot of the manufacturers are upping their production rate. One of them being the people that build the TBM and the Kodiak, upping production by 40%. That's 40%. And they're building these aircraft because people are buying them and they're using them for business. About 35 to 40% of the people coming into the market right now are actually new to aviation, and they're coming in at the smaller level, buying these smaller aircraft and using these propeller aircraft to build their business to a certain level. And they're all telling me, well, since I've been using the small airplane, my business has tripled or quadrupled as a result of using the small plane. So now it's funding the next airplane. And they're moving on to the next airplane, but they're still keeping the small airplane. So, these people, as Jason Crandall shared with us a few weeks ago, and if you haven't watched that interview, you can watch it. The link is above. He shared how he went from, starting off with a TBM, moved into a Bonanza, then on PC-12, and then into a Citation CJ4 jet, and how each time, the business funded that, but the business grew. So Airplane 1, grew the business, to then buy Airplane 2, which grew it even more, to buy Airplane 3, which grew it even more, to then buy his jet and have his exit. So, and now he's into a different business. So, that's just what's been happening. And so the smaller end is happening. Why is this happening? Why is this trend now of smaller aircraft being used more than ever? Well, first of all, America's got a great infrastructure for aviation. So there's lots of small airports, lots of small airstrips, lots of air parks where people live and they have a house, and next door to the house they have a hangar and they have a runway, not too far from the house. So they can literally taxi out of their hangar with their airplane onto the runway and take off and go and do business and come back for lunch or dinner or whatever it may be. So the infrastructure is there, but COVID and the lockdowns have just encouraged more and more people to get into aviation and learn to fly and buy their own aircraft. This is what's been happening. The airlines have scrapped a lot of the regional routes. So anybody living near these smaller airports, they can save a lot of time by having their own airplane. You can have a lot of fun flying your own airplane as well. And particularly if you're living in areas of the United States like the Rocky Mountain area, sometimes to get from one place to another, maybe it's a 10, 12-hour car journey. And if you fly, you've got to get to the airport, check in, this, that, the other. If you've got your small airplane, you can just fly in maybe 30 minutes, get to your destination, land at a smaller airport, go in by car, do your deal, and then fly back in time for lunch. This is what people are doing. The American dream is very much alive. Now, I know, sometimes you switch the telly on, or the TV as it's called in certain parts of the world, and you hear all this news about America and this is happening and that, and the presidential campaign and this and that, and you hear all this bad press that America's getting sometimes, and it makes you think, well, maybe that American dream is dead. It's not dead. And I'm not American. I don't live in the United States. I'm an outsider. I spent a week there talking to these people that, oh yes, I bought this airplane and now I'm just bought this other one and I'm taking delivery in July. And they're giving all this information. They're telling me why they bought the plane, how they use the plane to build their business. And there's more and more people, which is why manufacturers are upping production 30, 40, 50%, because there's more demand. There's more people coming into the market on the smaller end, and these people are younger people, they're in their 30s. They've got the money to buy the plane. And these people will be Gulfstream pilots in a few years' time. They'll be flying Global Expresses. They'll be flying Falcon 10Xs when it comes out, because their business will grow. And so as a result of it, and they'll still keep the smaller airplanes, but they'll buy the bigger airplane and they'll start flying the bigger airplane. And these airplanes, the modern avionics they're having them are a lot easier to fly. But as I've said more than once, and we had this conversation with a number of people over at Sun and Fun, the safety issue is a problem. Pilots aren't being trained properly. Even though these avionics are a lot easier to use, you still have to, learn the basics and create and have a foundation. I mean, there was one, I won't name who they are, but, advertising you can become a professional pilot in 5 months. And yes, you can do your training quick. I mean, I did my private pilot's license in 6 weeks when I was 17, but I continued flying. But, some of these people are doing training quick. And sometimes the quick training only puts you on a couple of aircraft and that's it. I remember when I was learning to fly, I got my private pilot's license, then I must go and fly many different aeroplanes because you'll learn. And by the time I got my commercial pilot's license, I've flown probably 25, 30 different aircraft. Because you learn flying different airplanes, you learn different things. Your mind thinks in a different way. You need to go and do aerobatics and go and fly gliders and do all that kind of thing just to build more of a strong foundation. Yes, the avionics today are easier to use, but you still need that strong foundation. You still need to, even if you're flying a Cirrus that's got a parachute on it, you still having that skill set where if you do get an engine failure, you can spot the right field and glide in and land safely in one piece. Having that skill builds your confidence and makes you a lot safer. Even though you do have a parachute on your airplane, but let's say the parachute doesn't work one day. Now what are you going to do? So it's important to have that type of training. So go in for the upset recovery training, the aerobatics training, go and do some gliding. Learn all those things. Go in the simulator. Even if you're flying a small airplane, there are simulators available, like the Redbird simulators, for example. Go and buy yourself one of those, or go to the local flight school that has one, and spend a few hours every month in that simulator. Get a flight, kit yourself out with a flight simulator at home on your computer. Fly the approaches into where you're going tomorrow. Fly them on your computer before you go. Use virtual reality, which is already here now. That can help you to see what airports are like, and maybe go up in the virtual reality program and see what the airplane is like, and particularly if you're flying into places like Aspen and that, which can get a bit difficult, especially in the winter and even in the summer when it's really hot. You want to see what an aircraft performs like at high altitude, at high temperature. The performance decreases. You've got to understand that, and you can actually practice that in the simulator. And if you do all these things, guess what? You can get certificates printed off if you go and do, different courses, and you can show your insurance company, oh, I just did a gliders course. I just finished an aerobatics course. Oh, I did an upset recovery course. Oh, I just did another 10 hours in this simulator. And you send all this information to your insurance company, they're going to give you a better deal on your insurance. And this is a big issue right now. Insurance companies are very weary when Mr. $400 million knocks on the door and says, oh, by the way, I've learned to fly, and I just bought myself this Honda jet, and I'd like to fly it myself. Can you insure me? And by the way, I'm worth $400 million. And they're like, well, sir, how long have you been flying? I've been flying 6 months or a year. Okay, well, what training have you done? Oh, I just flew a Cirrus and a Piper Seneca for 10 hours, and then I went off and got a Honda jet rating. And how many hours have you done with the instructor? 10 hours, he signed me off, he said I'm good. Yeah, but that's not enough. So the insurance companies want to see that you're safe, and sometimes it's not a matter of hours, it's how those hours were done, and what other training did you do, and what other training are you doing? Are you doing ongoing training? So this is important because, as more and more people are coming into aviation to fly as a hobby, also to fly themselves around for business, training is an issue, and so many people are crashing because they're not going about it in a professional way, so to speak. And the insurance company have caught onto this before the civil aviation authorities out there, and they are demanding that people, either take another pilot with them that's got a lot of experience, or they not fly. And so this is an issue, and it can be addressed very easily by just doing more training and more quality training, and showing the insurance company that you've done all this extra training, and your training is ongoing all the time. I think that's really, really important. So it's great to see more aircraft being built, more people learning to fly and using the airplane as a business tool, as I've always said in my book, The Quantum Economy. And also check out the article I did, interview I did with Jason Crandall in Avbuyer magazine. You can click on the link below to see that interview I did with him. As both the link to the article, you can read it quickly, or if you want to watch the whole interview, lots of interesting things to learn there. So that's it really from me. So the small plane is going to bring you a big gain, and it really will lead you to building your business in an exponential way. And that's it really from me on this one. Check out this other interview I did with Hans Nordsiek. He's an aviation pioneer. He's a 777, 787 captain, flies a biplane, just recently entered into the private aviation sector by flying for one of the fractional ownership companies out there. He tells his story. He gives you his take on aviation, on training, on where the industry is going, and some advice there for young people as well that want to come into this industry. So check out this interview I did with Hans. He's a great guy and got some interesting lessons there to teach us. And that's all from Fabrizio Poli here on BizJet TV. Subscribe, give us a thumbs up. I'll see you on the next one.